when I have a very long to-do list and it's the end of the day and none of it has gotten done. Ugh. That drives me nuts.
When dealing with finances, um, it's not an area that I feel the strongest in, and not an area that I have the greatest history in. So when dealing with finances, I find myself to get very, very anxious, stressed, overwhelmed, and that energy is very strong when it does seep out. Yeah.
When I have to pay for something because money is tough, and when my apartment is messy because I can't think and clutter. Usually the situation goes like this. I wake up after like 4 hours of sleep because I had to work very late the night before, and I have to run to an audition, and there's stuff all over my apartment, and my dog has to go out, and I don't have time to give her the right walk, so she's all antsy, and then like trying to put makeup on and cover the bags under my eyes, and I've become used to that kind of chaos. But I've had a lot of mornings like that where I just feel like I can't finish one thing fully, whether it's sleeping or taking care of my dog or getting myself ready to go to an audition. And it's overwhelming.
I guess when I have too many things on the plate and I kind of dropping things, which happens more these days since I'm working on my startup. I also have a job full time, trying to squeeze in exercise. Just kind of for some reason feel tired. So
I think I feel overwhelmed when I think about why I'm doing my startup and why I'm starting a business and what that means. I've had a lot of thoughts on kind of capitalism, making a lot of money. One, that it's so very hard, and it shouldn't be. Though even when you make it, yeah, for some reason I feel like if you're making absurd amounts of money, there's usually something unfair or wrong with whether it's the people on the other end or because it seems I've kind of been rudely awakened as to market efficiencies, and you're competing. It's a fiercely competitive market. The people that tend to win have an unfair advantage, and so you then go down that path and are looking for it. And it's been eye-opening to see kind of a world, or be exposed, or really kind of understand that it's a world of haves and have-nots. And to win, you want to be on the side that has a lot, so you can kind of, whatever it is you're selling or doing, sell to the rest of the people. So those are some thoughts I've had on that. Gosh, I forgot the question.
When I remember that I have like an autoimmune disorder, I mean, not that I always know that I have an autoimmune disorder, but like when I remember that it's something that I ultimately kind of can't control. I mean, I can control aspects of it. I can control like how I feel, not how I feel, but like how I manage it, which is really important. But like sometimes I like kind of sit and remember that it's something that I most likely will have forever, and it like won't go away, and that is super overwhelming for me because it comes in like waves of me like just kind of being like, all right, this is the way it is, and then sometimes I'll have like weeks where I'm just like, what the fuck, what am I gonna do in like 10 years? So that's super overwhelming. And then also sometimes when I feel like I get overwhelmed for no reason and I can't explain as to why, and then all of a sudden I'm like super high, like alert and high strung, not even high strung, but just overwhelmed in general, and I don't know why. And that's a little bit scary as well. Because then you really don't have any explanation, but there probably is an explanation, but you can't pinpoint it. So I feel like those 2 times are the most when I feel like when I'm feeling overwhelmed.
I feel the most overwhelmed when I don't receive the support that I feel like I am used to. When I don't hear from the people that I love, and when I don't have those constant reminders that I'm on the right path. It definitely makes me feel like I need to correct course. And so I would say if I'm detached from that even for a second, it distracts me and takes me to this place of exhaustion and a feeling of being overwhelmed.
It's tough because I definitely know when I feel the most overwhelmed, and it's when my calendar is nonstop hopping from one thing to another. Like recently, I was in a show, I had work, I started school, and because of that schedule, I started sleeping less. Because I started sleeping less, I got sick. Because I kept not sleeping while I was sick, I wouldn't get better. So my performance lacked because I was sick during the performances. So I guess it's definitely when I'm overwhelmed with all of my work. But then I step back and realize that I love this work and this is what I want to do with my life. And I want to get good grades because I want to get into Yale. I want to be in this show because I want to broaden my ability to perform any character I want to perform. I want to go to work so that I can expand my connections, so that I can make money to sustain myself so my parents don't have to do that for me anymore. They still do. They help me so much, but I want to be able to at least help with the small things, you know? And yeah, I feel like it's just everything that I want to do. So again, why hate it? That's why I don't want people to hate anymore. Because I put myself in all of these positions. I made myself overwhelmed with all of these things, but it's because I love to do those things, and I want to overwhelm myself with things that I like to do. Yeah.
Probably at work. If I have too many things I don't work well with underneath people, with a boss in general, so I get very overwhelmed with public speaking. I get very overwhelmed when I have a lot of people telling at me, saying things that are, when I have too many priorities going on, when I'm really busy and there's a lot of pressure on me, and I get very overwhelmed in fights when I don't know exactly how to articulate how I'm feeling, or I'm feeling ambivalent.
When things aren't organized, like my thoughts aren't organized, my room is organized, and when people start to ask me for things, because my brain runs it runs a mile a minute. I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about this, and then I'm thinking about this, and if I don't have a moment to kind of settle and get a nice little baseline, then it just tends to start to build, and I start to feel like that. It's like a snowball effect. I start to feel the anxiety coming on, and I can't think for a minute. And even when people I get people asking a lot of questions, if I need time to think before I give you an answer. So if you keep asking me and you don't give me a chance to think, or if you react and tell me to talk right away or ask me for an answer right away, that's when I'm like, okay, I can't, I don't even know what to do. So that's when I feel overwhelmed.
I think when it comes to family, something happening to them, if my dad falls sick or has to go to the hospital, or my, situations where something's happening with my nephews or my sister. I think it's always family oriented. Something bad happening to them gets me overwhelmed.
I mean, I think it's when we kind of all feel the most overwhelmed is when everything in every aspect of your life is just kind of whoop, and nothing's fallen yet. When my job is crazy and I've got 5,000 different projects going that all, haven't totally wrapped yet. And so I'm trying to, keep my hands in all the pies. And that's overwhelming. Yeah. But it's worse when then in addition, my personal life is crazy and you're, maybe my apartment's not totally settled or finances are funky. And, I think just when everything is up in the air is really when I start to feel a little bit like I can't control things. And I ignore them. I totally ignore things when I feel overwhelmed, which is a terrible habit. It's really, really bad. But it's how I deal with things. I get overwhelmed and I ignore everything. Yeah, that's probably the worst of it. I can deal with little things going off here and there. That's not so bad. I might have a moment of exasperation, but I can usually rein it in again. But it's when when there's more than 4 or 5 things that have just gone to shit, is when I have a really hard time dealing.
I feel the most overwhelmed when I think too much about what my life should look like, or what path I should be taking.
When I think about where I'm supposed to be in 10 years, or where I see myself, and all the things that I need to do before that, it's, completely overwhelming.
I'm someone who thrives when I'm stressed. I do my best work then. So in a lot of ways, overwhelmed is a helpful feeling to me, but when I don't turn things in, at the moment I'm a freelance writer and photographer. So when I'm behind on a deadline and when I get emails that I don't respond to and my inbox is full of all these inquiries that I haven't answered in days, that really overwhelms me. And I kind of can go into a hiding mode where I just don't deal with any of it. But yeah, I feel very guilty same thing for me when I was in college. I would just feel incredibly stressed if there was a deadline that I was past or that was coming up. So yeah, having deadlines for things or expected responses that I don't meet is what overwhelms me the most.
I feel the most overwhelmed when I feel trapped and in time, I suppose you could say. I think that one of the hardest things for me is to live in the moment, because you have all these plans for the future, and you could know you're going places, if you could know you have this date next week or this big interview in 2 months. So that feeling that you're not happy with where you are right now and that you're always waiting for something to happen, it's a very trapping feeling to live outside of the moment, to kind of live obsessed with what's coming and not what you're doing in the present. And that overwhelms me sometimes, just knowing that, I guess you could say it's more of a patience issue, but just to really be in the now. And when you're not in the now, just that feeling of I'm trapped in the now if you're not satisfied with it. And that's a tough one to overcome for me personally.